Blessings, and good middle of the night, everyone. Grace Levi is back in the building. Yes, and I am streaming live from in the studio. So, what we're going to be doing on late nights, I'm picking kind of like Tuesdays into Wednesdays. We're going to be reading Epstein files. If you guys don't know what I do, check out my old content. This is what we do: read court cases, get into it, kind of talk about what's going on, and the possible outcome. Right now, we already know that there has been numerous cases that has been released by the DOJ. So I have been taking my time going over these cases, and I will tell you that it is very heart-wrenching. I want to send love and blessings to anyone who I do read their particular case. We're going to make sure that we keep it respectful, but we want to get the facts out there for everyone and everyone, because we know that our president is allegedly doing things to distract us from these Epstein files. We will not give up. Okay. We're going to also have heartfelt message to parents as well, because as we read these particular cases, we're going to see a trend. It's not only young girls who was manipulated by Epstein and all of his co-defendants, because that's who we're highlighting. Who are the others? Last week, we highlighted 2 young ladies. One is currently working in designing again, and one is working in aircraft. You teaching people how to fly. They're still functioning, and they're functioning out of estates that is connected to Epstein. If you did not see that, please go watch the last case that we read and how they helped to lure that young lady into her situation. Okay, but what's what we're going to be highlighting? These cases and the others, because the others are still walking amongst us. Remember, Epstein has connections to high-profile people, and I will be looking through the cases to find it. Today, high-profile person that's mentioned in this particular case is President Trump, and we're going to read about it. But I do want you to remember there's other people that we have to pay attention to, because they're still walking freely. No disrespect, as though we don't know their particular role, but they were in the files. My thing is, if y'all around this guy, a lot of people got common sense. You're going to know if something's not right. And particularly what we highlight about what Trump interaction is with this young lady and Epstein. Trump is not innocent. But we're just going to name a few politicians and a few people we want to keep our eye on, such as Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Prince Andrew, Alexander Acosta, former U.S. Labor Secretary, U.S. Attorney of Florida, as well as Ahad Barak. If you don't know who that is, you may not know, but how can I say? Candice may know, because she's on it like kryptonite. And Turning Point. This person is a former Israel prime minister who was frequently correspondent and associated with Epstein. Other people like Bill Richards, the late former Mexican governor. This is a worldwide thing, guys. Is nothing that is going to be just a United States thing. As you see, this is international. Steve Bannon also has ties to Trump, where it says the former White House advisor exchanged emails with Trump, who offered Bannon advice on building a far-right political movement. Again, this guy was in our politics, playing backdoor politics. As you know, if you buy it, you control it. That's just American politics. And I see that's working all around the world. As well as business elites such as Bill Gates, okay, the tech billionaire, okay. He met with Epstein multiple times to discuss philanthropy. Email suggested Epstein acted as an intermediary for donations for him. This is how they block who is sending it to who. They send it third party, okay. And Gates has expressed regret for his association. We're going to get a little bit more into those names as we move along, But I'm so happy to be in the studio. What we're going to do is start talking about this particular camp before we before we get into the case. And why I'm bringing up this particular camp, it's because a lot of people may believe that Epstein was just luring girls in that were underprivileged, that, you know, had nothing going on, and their families were just bums and homeless. But I will concur to say the different. This particular camp, which is known as Interlaken, this particular camp in itself was associated with this particular lawsuit. Not saying that they were the focus of the lawsuit, but this was the point where Epstein met one of the young lady in this particular lawsuit. So let's watch this, because we're going to get to know a little bit about what is Camp Interlock Center for Arts is, and then we're going to get to the.
You may have heard the story before, how in 1928 a young teaching musician envisioned this land between the lakes as a home for young artists, a place for them to find a community of students and faculty passionate about the arts. Since then, Interlaken Center for the Arts has expanded our reach far beyond what we first imagined. Our campus
Now, I do want to highlight this for information, educational purposes only. I do want to show you the particular facility that's associated with this lawsuit.
Features state-of-the-art facilities to match our added disciplines, and our digital programming connects students around the world with Interlaken Online. Each year, Interlaken Presents hosts thousands upon thousands of patrons on our campus for incredible student performances and professional artists in every genre. Interlaken Public Radio connects people in Northern Michigan to the world and the world to Northern Michigan. And our College of Creative Arts gives opportunities for lifelong learning and professional development.
All right, we're going to stop right there, because I just want you to kind of get an idea of the particular camp that this young lady was attending. We did look into a little bit of their website to just kind of get an idea, and it seems like a nice prestige camp. They have camp every year. They focus on, you know, painting, sculpting, dancing, singing, and they cater from grades. I think they said from grade 3rd grade all the way to high school to 12th grade. These are the summer camp intensive programs that they have. I don't want to, you know, go too deep into this particular organization because they were not named as a party in the lawsuit. But I'm highlighting this is because many individuals believe that these young ladies are just bottom of the barrel and they're just money seeking. And what I'm starting to notice is that these ladies, these young girls, was entrapped. They were lured by Epstein and his associates, hoping to gain some type of help with what they're doing as far as college scholarships, grants, internships. And that's what we're going to hear today in this particular lawsuit, how Epstein actually reached out to this young lady's mother and kind of took their situation and took advantage of it. Not kind of, but did. And I can't say too much about the particular parent, but I am concerned that someone like Epstein can have such a grip on a parent by way of allegedly paying them. So what we're going to do, we're going to get to it. Give me 1 second. We're going to put it on the screen. I just want to edit some stuff. We're going to get it up there. I want to say thank you so much. We're going to be doing these reads at least once a week, because we're going to keep our eye on the prize. We're not going to let them take the focus off of what we need to pay attention to. So let's get it. If you don't know who I am, my name is Miss Grace, and we will be looking at the Epstein files. Let's see. This is Epstein abuse of Jane Doe. So we have it on the screen. I have a little breakdown here. There's some things. Now, I think this particular document, they had one that was this document, one of them upside down. No. Okay. So yeah, I think this was upside down. So I have printed it out because I was like, okay, they got some things that's a little messed up, but I did want to go over it. So let's get to it today. If you don't know who I am, my name is Miss Grace. We are actually going over the Epstein files, and I want to have. Let's see. I want to see if I can. Let's see. I want to see if I can have a dual screen here where I can have. Mm, but let's just get to it. Let's get to it. All right. So this particular case was filed in 2020, okay, after Epstein's death. And this is another Jane Doe. In this particular case, it says the case arises out of years of sexual abuse. Now, this is what we're reading to you here, what's on the screen, but it's some things that's messed up in this download. So I had to print it out. So it says this case arises out of years of sexual abuse and exploitation of a young girl by a notorious pedophile and convicted ex offender, Jeffrey Epstein. Let's see if we could get Epstein on a screen. That's what I want to do. I want to add a little bit to it. Add his face. Let's just add this to it so you guys will know what I'm reading as people come in and come out the broadcast. All right. So this is the second read. It's a little bit heart wrenching, for people who are mothers, people who have kids, people who find this very distasteful. I would give you a fair warning. Okay. So this case arrives out of years of sexual abuse and exploitation of a young girl by the notorious pedophile and convicted sex offender Jeff Epstein. It all started in 1994 when 13-year-old Jane Doe met Epstein and defended Maxwell at the summer camp in Michigan. So what we just showed you, the summer camp Interlocking, this was the summer camp that she went to. She was an art student. And I want to highlight that again, we have Maxwell, throwing out subliminal messages that she's seeking a pardon. She did a long, long interview and did not implicate herself in anything, said she didn't know anything, didn't do anything, but her name keeps coming in here as a associate in a way as she's playing the madam. This lady is horrendous and disgusting according to some of the things that I'm reading here. Okay. So let's keep it going. This all started in 1994 when the young lady was 13 years old. She met Miss Maxwell and Epstein at the summer camp in Michigan, Camp Interlocking. Jane Doe, as their first known victim, was subsequently abused by Epstein and Maxwell for years as the young girl suffered unimaginable physical and psychological trauma, distress. Despite that, Jane Doe has preserved and survived to tell her story, to hold her perpetrators accountable and seek justice for them that had committed crimes against her. Throughout her life, Epstein systematically perpetrated acts of molestation, exploitation, assault, and on hundreds of girls. Epstein's system of abuse was facilitated in a large part by co-conspirators, and that is our thing. Who is the co-conspirators? Who are these big names that we still don't know, that has not been charged? That's who we're going to keep an eye on. That's why I want you to hit the like button, because they don't want us to focus in on these other names, but we will. Okay. So as stated in here, throughout her life, she was systematically basically exploited in art by Epstein and Ghislaine, as hundreds of girls were. Hundreds of girls were. Again, Maxwell, who helped supply him with a steady stream of young girls and vulnerable girls. Many of them were fatherless, like Jane Doe, and came from a struggling family. All right. And this is how he set it up. Having single parent families, and they're seeking activities for their kids. They don't have a lot of money, and he's taking advantage. The system, which took years to develop, all started with the exploitation abuse of Jane Doe, saying that she was one of the primary individuals that, was given a test run of their big scheme of sexual exploitation. This young lady right here. So Jane Doe, who have used as a guinea pig to refine their criminal enterprise and wind down their network for additional actual abuse. So the only people that was actually named here was Ghislaine Maxwell and Darren Dinky, who is above Epstein estate right now. So he's representing Epstein estate. So she did not name the camp. She did not name Trump as a person who did something to her, but we will talk about Trump in this particular case. Okay. So let's keep it moving. In the summer of 1994, Jane Doe met Jeff Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell at the Interlochen Art Camp in Michigan. Okay. Let's make sure that you guys can hear me. Thank you so much for being with me. We'll be doing these Epstein reads weekly. Okay, now I'm putting this on the screen right now because I want you guys to be stimulated, but we have the reading right here. We have the case, and we'll show you again on the screen. Now, this is the details of this particular case. Now, this is case number. If you want to read it yourself, this is on the DOJ website, case number 120-CV00484. So I'm going to be summarizing some things, but we want to get to the nitty gritty. In the summer of 1994, Jane Doe met Jeff Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell at the Interlochen Art Camp in Michigan when she was only 13 years old. Doe was there as a student in the voice program. Doe was sitting alone on the bench between classes when Epstein and Maxwell approached her. Epstein bragged about being a patriot of art, giving scholarships to talented young ladies like Doe. Okay. Epstein and Maxwell probed her at a length about her background, family situation, and where she lived. As Doe got up to leave, Epstein requested her mother's phone number back in Florida. So he was scoping out the situation, him and the Ghislaine Maxwell, and this may have been a great target because he actually lived in Florida. So it even made it even easier for him to kind of like lure his way into her house and get her family, used to him, because you're going to see what happens throughout this. So as Doe was leaving, Epstein requests her mother's phone number back in Florida. She was alarmed by the request, but also feared that she could not refuse the older man's request. So she complied and provided him with the phone number. And I will say this, no disrespect to the camp, but why is the camp allowing grown people to accost or, talk to their students without their parents being aware? Okay. I'm just saying. What is Epstein doing and Leanne doing at this summer camp that is supposed to be for kids? And if you don't know what summer camp I'm talking about, I'm going to put it on the screen right here for you guys. And this is not to condemn Interlochen camp, but this is the camp that they're talking about. And I'm a little appalled that Epstein and Leanne was at this camp. They wasn't a counselor, social worker. They was just roaming around the camp talking to these kids. So this young girl got approached by Elaine, and Epstein. So several weeks later, once Doe had returned from Michigan to Florida, Epstein called Doe home. And this is where mom comes in. And we have to have discernment, parents. Epstein first spoke with Doe's mother about how he mentors young kids and provides scholarships for art. He requested to speak to Doe and invited her and her mother to his mansion in Palm Beach. He sent the driver across town to pick them up. Over the course of the next several months, Epstein and Maxwell attempted to groom and mentor 13-year-old Jane Doe. So you're going to see the buildup of this, guys. It's a little horrendous, but we got to talk about it, because as parents, when you see the signs, when you see something crazy, you got to highlight it. And I'm going to add a story that happened to me that I avoided. I believe I avoided because my kids would have been maybe caught up with these pedos, but we're going to save that story for you. Now, it says that he basically got in contact with Jane Doe's mother, accosted them, sent them your car over, brought them over to the mansion. Over the course of the next several months, Epstein and Maxwell attempt to groom and mentor 13-year-old Jane Doe. Epstein gave herself the name of gave himself the name of J. Doe Godfather, while Maxwell acted like an older sister to her. Okay. And again, if you don't know why I have this on the screen, it is because this is the camp that they actually met this young lady at. Okay. So Epstein and Maxwell then started to make actual reference when they were with her. For instance, Maxwell told Doe that having XEX with her ex-boyfriend, the little girl, because she had a boyfriend, I guess, was easy because once you slept with him, quote unquote, from Maxwell, they'll be grandfathered in and you can go back and F them whenever you want to. This is really vulgar and this is for adult ears and eyes only, but you need to know how to talk to your kids about this because it's going to get a little crazy. Epstein also started to slowly display his pedophilic ways when shopping with Doe. So this is how he started to groom her. And Maxwell, instead of Doe picking out clothes, she wanted to wear. Epstein insisted that she pick out and wear little children's cotton underwear. Also, after nearly every visit with Epstein and Maxwell, Epstein sent Doe home with $200 or $300 bills to give to her mother since she was having a hard time and struggling widow. So he was preying not only on the little girl, but he was also preying on the parents, using their disadvantage of allegedly being in poverty, wanting to keep their kids in some type of scholastics, doing things productively. He was not only lured his way to play the role as her godfather, take a young girl shopping, and then start to slowly do, crazy things, making her model underwear. But then you basically have the mom shut up by giving her money. Now, I'm going to continue to read this, but I will tell you that they do this in real time. I have to stop and give you guys a short story, and we're going to finish this. So when my son was about 11 years old and I was out here in Georgia, a single mother by myself, I wanted to get my kids as active as possible, and I was trying my best. And coming from Newark, we never had the Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, really. It wasn't really because we didn't have woods. So out here, you know what I'm hearing, they go camping and stuff. So I said, let me check out the Boy Scouts for my son. We went to the a little meeting that they were having at a local church in Columbus, Georgia. This was before the world-renowned lawsuit. And I talked to the director, the guy that was over it, and a few things stand out to me because he did tell me, he tried to give me his best credentials, tell me what was going on, how they were having a camp out that weekend in the woods, and he would have really liked my son to come with them to experience it. So I'm like, okay, well, it's something that I have to think about because I'm not sure if he's going to be involved in this particular, program, but I'll keep you posted. But some of the things that really highlighted to me was this. The story took a little dark turn because this gentleman who was the director of the Boy Scout in Columbus, by proof, this is my experience, he started to call me every couple of hours for the next 48 hours, like 3 days, basically, asking me, did I change my mind? Did I want to let my son come camping with them and try it out? This, that, and the third. Now, I was trying to be nice and politically correct. One, first and foremost, I'm not really comfortable. If you're from the islands or you're Black, I don't know. We don't play with our kids spending the night out, plain out, simple, and not going to be spending the night out with people we don't know. So, and to keep it real, this gentleman, he tried to give me reassurance by telling me that he was a retired FBI agent and how long the program had ran. He was just so like persistent that it made me uncomfortable. So I was so crazy because my original dad and my original mom are not together. They don't talk, whatever. And I talked to both of them about the situation. And I was like, hey, y'all, this is what's going on. This gentleman keeps calling me, asking me from Shadri to come camping with him this weekend. And I am not totally comfortable with this particular thing because he sounds weird. He's saying he's an FBI agent, this, that, and the third. On top of it was supposed to rain that weekend. So I said to him, well, it's going to rain this weekend, so I definitely don't want him to go, but I'll keep you posted. As well as I told him, this is not part of my culture norms to have my kid out just, with anybody. He said two things to me. One, he said that they were going to change the camping location from outside in the wood to inside in the church. Yeah, we're not doing that. Then two, he said that, oh, well, maybe you need to change your culture. So he told me that I need to change my culture because I said I wasn't comfortable just letting my son just spend the night out in the organization or just with any like this Boy Scout thing. But I wanted to learn about it. So from there, I literally blocked his number, had nothing to do with it. And I'm going to tell you, to this day, I believe I saved my son from being sexually abused or satanically sacrificed. I'm just going to keep it real. Okay. Something was seriously wrong with this guy. He was pursuing me. And then it was a mixed kids there, different kids, but it was more Caucasian kids there. And I don't know, when he saw my son, he took a liking to him. And I said, no. So I'm saying all of this because parents, we have discernment. We know when something is not right. And myself as a single parent, I really wanted my son to do boy things. He not having a father figure around, me living in Georgia, not having no family around. I was the perfect target for this particular organization and whatever this guy wanted to do. But because I was hard-headed and filled with the Holy Spirit and said, hey, yeah, I question everything, which people use it against me. It's okay. I think I saved my son. But I gave you that particular story to let you know that this is real. This is real. And then years later, we found out that it's a big lawsuit against the Boys and Girls Club. I wonder how that door opened because I had the door closed, but it's okay, guys. If you don't know who I am, my name is Miss Grace. We're back in the studio and we're actually doing a case read of the Epstein lawsuit. This one involves a 14-year-old girl that was attending the interlocking camp where she was lured by Epstein and Maxwell and abused for years. She is alleging that she was basically the guinea pig to perfect their ex-trafficking scheme. Okay, so this is not directly towards interlocking camp to say that they are part of the scheme. I don't know, but I'm just giving you real facts. Again, we're talking about the others who was not convicted as well, and that's named in these particular documents that we need to be aware of. Okay, so let's get back to what's going on now. This is where Doe was sitting between the chairs, between classes. If y'all don't remember, basically she was accosted by Epstein and Maxwell, bragged about her singing, bragged about, the scholarships that they can get her, got in contact with her mother. They talked to her without an adult at this particular camp. I'm just going to say, I don't like that, but got in contact with her mother, and lured her into being comfortable with Epstein, which is weird because I don't want no stranger just being my kid's godfather. But that's how far the relationship went on with him. And he slowly but surely started to groom this little girl through ways of taking her shopping. But after a while, she said she wasn't able to pick her particular clothes, that he will have her model children's underwear. Okay. And I'm going to tell you this as a person who has been abused. It's not easy for you to come to your parents and come and tell them that this is happening, especially, if it's a funny situation where they're going to pull you out, where you feel you're going to lose friends, or you feel like you're going to get in trouble. Our kids' minds go so many different ways. That's why we have to have an active line of communication with them. And anyone who comes in, please hit the like button. Again, if you don't know what's happening to me, Grace Levi, I have been cyberbullied and content struck to the point that we're fighting for our rights. So today we're in the studio and we pray that we'll get into the algorithm via the studio. Okay. Because we have been cyberbullied and attacked and gang stalked by Democrat psychos. Okay. But anyway, let's keep it going. So several weeks later, once Jane Doe returned from Michigan, he got in contact with Jane Doe's mother, build a relationship with her. As I said, they started to godfather her into this sexual abuse. So Epstein also started to slowly display, like I said, his pedophilic ways by making her model kids underwear. While at these visits made Doe, which is the young girl, extremely uncomfortable, Epstein and Maxwell made her feel she could not refuse them. During the time, Epstein started to pay for voice lessons for Doe and insisted that Doe could not advance her career in any way without him. When Doe expressed hesitation about spending time with Epstein and Maxwell, or to their desires, Epstein and Maxwell would threaten Doe and scold her for being ungrateful. Okay, and that's where the psychological abuse enhance. Okay, it enhanced. All right. So once Epstein had secured Doe in New York and made her and her family completely dependent, because this is what he did in 1996, when Doe was 16 years old, Epstein moved Doe to New York City at first. Epstein put Doe up in an apartment in the 65th Street and 2nd Avenue. After a few months, Epstein co-signed the lease for Doe and Doe's mother for an apartment. Additionally, Epstein paid her tuition at a private high school in Manhattan as well. So basically, he just took total control of her life. We're on page 4 right now. Okay. So once Epstein had secured Doe in a New York apartment and made her and her mother completely dependent on him financially, including for the roof over their heads, Epstein's abuse of Doe continued to escalate. In 1997, while at Epstein's townhouse on 9th East 71st Street in New York, Epstein asked the 17-year-old Doe if she had a boyfriend. So this is when he started to escalate it then. Now, mind you, all of this time, since the 3 years he was grooming her, he allegedly did not penetrate. But this is what we have to talk big here. We have to talk big stuff here, guys. So all right. So Epstein asked 17-year-old, did she have a boyfriend? Doe replied that she did not. Epstein responded that when she did have a boyfriend, she would want the sex to be good and that she should get it over with already, meaning lose her virginity. Despite Doe's resistance, Epstein then pushed Doe down onto her stomach and awed her. From the point forward for several years, from that point forward for several years in New York, Epstein art Doe on multiple occasions. So this started at the age of 17 and met her at 13. Now, during Doe's time in New York, Maxwell also regularly facilitated Epstein abuse of Doe and was frequently present when it occurred. So I don't want to hear anything about this pedo getting any type of pardons, because we know we have the pardon king that like to pardon criminals, like real criminals. And allow them to reset up their criminal enterprise allegedly. We'll talk about it. He has pardoned another individual that I think is detrimental to the Black community. We will be talking about that. But in 1999, Doe moved to Los Angeles to start a career. Okay, so as she got older, she was able to branch out. Upon moving to Los Angeles and being physically away from Epstein and Maxwell, Doe finally felt like she could escape Epstein's abuse and stop returning his frequent calls where he would threaten and berate her for not appreciating him. Despite Doe's physical escape from Epstein and Maxwell, the years of abuse and exploitation perpetrated against her by them caused her immeasurable pain and suffering every day. So this is where they go into Epstein death will, because this is basically, highlighting the rights of her being able to tap on into this Epstein death will by way of the execution of his trust, those two people in Dinky. Now, the first cause of action is what we're going to get into. This is not a long read, it's 10 pages. So we're kind of on 6, which is great. First cause of action, sexual assault. Plaintiff is basically suggests that on numerous occasions over several years, Epstein and Maxwell assistants made violent sexual demand on plaintiff while placing his hands on her body in positions of dominance and control while touching plaintiff in violent and invasive ways. Okay. This demands often made when the young plaintiff was alone with Epstein or only with Epstein and Maxwell. Okay. Were intended to frighten plaintiff in submission to his actual demand and place plaintiff in a apprehension of harm. Okay, so basically he's highlighting that this sexual assault was happening where people wasn't around and except for Maxwell, and it was increasing. The second issue, on numerous occasions over several years, Epstein argued though. On numerous occasions over several years, Epstein did digitally digitally penetrated dough with his fingers, tongue, and foreign objects. On numerous occasions over several years, Epstein made otherwise unwanted, unlawful, harmful, and offensive physical contact with plaintiff body. This time conduct caused plaintiff serious and persistent harm and contributed to the injuries that plaintiff continued to suffer. This cause of action is timely under the Child Victim Act, NYCPLR. I'm kind of briefing over some things, but that's the act that allowed them to sue within 20 years. The third cause of action here related to this claim, Epstein and Maxwell campaign of sexual abuse against the teenage plaintiff was extreme and outrageous conduct that shocked the senses, basic conscience. Okay, it's just shocking. Epstein and Maxwell serial sexual assault committed during uh, the course of methodical planning of recruitment. It says enticement and attacks inflicted severe pain and anguish upon the plaintiff. Epstein and Maxwell directed this conduct as plaintiff and knew that it would cause severe and lasting emotional distress. Indeed, the conduct caused plaintiff severe and lasting emotional distress and serious injury to her mental health. So this was the cause of action for intentional infliction of emotional distress. The fourth cause of action is negligent infliction of emotional distress. Let's see what they say, if it's a little bit different. But as you see how ratchet this is, we have to talk about it because they want to sweep this under the rug. They try to make this seem like it's a one-man band. It's more than a two-man band. It's more than him and his madam. Hold on. I hold on, guys. Give me 1 second because I think I brushed over the part where Trump met her. Hold on 1 second. There we go. Let's go back to page 4 because I was summarizing so much that I missed the Trump page. Hold on. Let's just go back to page 4 right here. There we go. It says, you want to zoom this up just for my Trump lovers. This is on page 4. During one of those encounters with Epstein, he took her to Mar-a-Lago because I was skimming. You see how the devil is trying to have me skim? There we go. This is how Trump knows of something. During one of those encounters with Epstein, he took her to Mar-a-Lago, where he introduced her to its owner, Donald Trump. Introducing 14-year-old Doe to Donald Trump. Epstein elbowed Trump, playfully asking him, referring to Doe, "This is a good one, right?" Trump smiled and nodded in agreement. They both chuckled, and Doe felt uncomfortable, but at that time was too young to understand why. So this is what I kind of skimmed over. It says towards the end of 1994, Epstein invited Doe into his pool house where he grabbed her, put her on his lap, and started masturbating. Epstein told her that this was what to expect from photographers who would soon going to be taking modeling pictures of her. However, when Doe was ultimately photographed by these professional photographers, they did not do such thing. So over the year, the sexual abuse escalated on a regular base. Epstein will digitally penetrate though, and that's kind of where I had kind of skimped over. But I'm glad that I caught it, guys, because this is your true blue facts that Trump is named in this, and he does have inclination. No one can say that this grown man don't did not know what was going on. What was he saying? Yeah, this is a good one for. Why would you want to be overlooking a 14-year-old girl for what? It's a lot of questions that needs to be answered here that I definitely think Mega needs to pay attention to, because they're overlooking this, and him bombing other countries will not stop us looking into these Epstein files. So let's start to conclude, because I wanted to make sure that you guys know that Maxwell is definitely guilty. She does not deserve a pardon. Trump definitely knew something was going on with Epstein, and Mar-a-Lago was the place to bring these young girls to get looked at, to be accosted, whatever was going on. That was one of the meeting hubs, allegedly, and they're trying to hide that. Now let's move on, because we was on page 8. I had to go all the way back to 4 because it dawned on me that I didn't read the part about Trump, because I'm kind of trying to paraphrase and sum up some stuff, because sometimes it'd be really repetitive in these documents, but I will make sure that I get to the facts. Okay, so here we're on the 5th cause to action. Okay, and I know it's a little ratchet today, guys, but there is a point in this production. I need the parents, I need the people who are caregivers to be aware that we have predators. It's not just kids that's out there running the streets looking for money, this, that, and the third. They're going to these private organizations. They're going to the camps, as you can see, Camp Interlocking. I'm not saying that Camp Interlocking Center for Arts has anything to do with this big elongated scheme, but I will say I don't like the fact that they allow Epstein and LIENS to walk freely in their facility and scope out kids. It's just weird. It's just weird to me. So this was the summer art program that Jane Doe was talking about, that she was in it at 14 years old, that she was accosted by Epstein and LIENS Maxwell. Okay. What she did not say directly is that LIENS was involved in this particular one, but the last read that we read of the girl who was 17 that met him, oh, LIENS was involved in that one as well, and the 2 other assistants that was luring more people in that we talked about. We're naming names. Now let's just get to the last part of this, and I want to say thank you guys for popping in. Again, we're in the studio. We're working on getting on the algorithm. As you can see, guys, if you look at my other content when I stream from other devices, I'm in the algorithm. This particular platform is, streaming is coming directly from my PC, and I have been attacked and gang stalked by Democratic psychos. And this is why you see this happen to me. If you look at my page, you'll see something severely different going on, where I will stream from my streaming equipment. I get 1 or 2 views. I will stream from other equipment that has not been tapped in, that they don't know about, and literally we're in the algorithm. This is just real. I need you guys to help me out. This is the true form of blackball and censoring. So I want to say thank you to my Lord and Savior Yeshua, because obviously there's something that they're trying to block from me to show you guys, and I'm going to need you guys to help me be able to show you, because we get into that damn work here and we ask those questions that they don't want us to ask, that literally get us in trouble. But I'm okay, because I believe in my Lord and Savior Yeshua, and that's what we do. We fight against the system and the beast. So let's just finish this up. I want to say thank you so much for being with me this late night. And now we're going to get into the 5th cause of action. So defendant is defendant in perpetrating the defendant in perpetrating the above described non-consensual sexual assault did, by use of threat and physical force, because this is false imprisonment charge. This is the 5th cause of action, false imprisonment. I'm sorry, I didn't read it. And what falls under this false imprisonment action is basically Epstein using false threats and willfully and intentionally confining, detaining, imprisoning, and restraining plaintiff without lawful authority to do so against her will and without her consent. Plaintiff was aware of and suffered of extreme efforts of the defendant unlawful confinement. As the consequence of defendant false imprisonment of plaintiffs, she sustained conscious pain and suffering. Plaintiff health was impaired. Plaintiff suffered great mental distress, shock, frightened, and humiliation. And plaintiff reputation and character was injured as a consequence of the conduct of the defendant. Okay, so this is the fifth cause of action, which is false imprisonment. So basically, this is the end of this particular read. And again, what we're going to be doing between every Tuesday into Wednesday, we're going to be reading one Epstein file. I could have read another one for you guys, but I'm trying to keep it short and sweet and keep you guys focused on the content. Meaning, you guys may want to talk to your kids about what's going on in these particular places that you send them to join activities. It's not just these kids who's running the streets who's being affected. There is a blind naiveness and the negligence that has went on with that particular family in this case, as well as what goes on across the world with many individuals. Because you know why? Because we need help, especially single parents and things like that. We look for these organizations to have connections, scholarships, and things. So if that organization in itself allow Epstein to come and walk around and coach their kids, that parent would think that, hey, this was okay. But again, I need you guys to be aware, because we heard plenty of situations where people came into organizations, sporting organizations with kids, and defiled them mentally, physically, and financially. There was a story a couple of months ago. One of these, I think it's basketball or football, don't quote me. Basically, the person was acting like a scout and was taking all this money from the family, saying that how they were going to help the kid get into football, and they had all these connections. Got about $6,000 or so from the parent, the mother, and it was nothing. It was all a fluke. So thank God that was just money that was taken away from the mother, and they didn't go sexual abuse the boy or do anything. But it was so crazy because the father got online on that particular video and was saying, well, she should have asked me. I would have told her that he was scamming her, and this is why we have to work together as a family. I mentioned to you in my particular situation where I reached out to my original mom and original dad. There's a reason why I call them my original mom and original dad. I don't have too many ties to these people that are my blood, okay, for whatever reason. But when shit hit the fan, I had to ask some questions. I said, am I tripping? Am I tripping? And I definitely wanted to go to someone who I knew loved my son and loved my kids. And I said, hey, would y'all do this? Is something going on here? I just had to verify with something not right. So parents, if you ever feel that something is not right with some of the program that you're getting your kids in, there's some type of physical, mental, or social or sexual abuse going on, don't be afraid to follow up. Don't think that you're just crazy in your head because, oh, socially I'll look weird. Baby, I look weird my whole life asking them damn questions, and it literally, I believe, saved my son from being sexually abused or satanically sacrificed at this church with that guy that was the Boy Scout talking about something, you need to change your culture. I said, baby, we're not doing that. So with that goes to say, you're going to see me on Tuesdays into Wednesdays where we're going to be reading we're going to be reading Epstein case. We do have another one that we're going to be reading that basically highlights his assistants. His assistants now is trying to sue Epstein, and that blows me because these assistants were the one who was actually helping Epstein do this to young girls. So catch us next Tuesday into Wednesday night. I want to say thank you so much. If you don't know what we do on Wednesday, we will be live at 3:30 vlogging our Atlanta food giveaway. But until then, I want you guys to know who walks with me and walks with you. Let's get it.
Jesus walked